lots of times folks get into arguments online about what is and what is not. I would like to ask you gentlemen each to define racism, because when I have a couple of white guys argue about it, their definitions don't matter. Carl, you get to go first, I think.
Oh, no way.
We're handing you the live bomb to start with.
Listen, somebody wants, actually, no, fuck it, Tony.
That's easy. Racism is disadvantaging someone societally or personally because of the race that they belong to. It happens to lots and lots of people, and then not just racism. Women get mistreated for sexism. Gay and transgender people get mistreated just because they're homophobes in this world. It just happens that black people have been fucked over for a hot minute now. And at this point in the game, I don't know if that's a horrible thing, because at this point, I've never seen the black gun community this big. I've never seen so many people in the black community training other people how to shoot. Now, granted, the reason that this came about is fucking horrid, but we here, and I'm quite happy to take y'all out to the range. Let's go shooting and let's get better at this. And then let's be able to stand when, oh, there's an injustice. Okay, fine. We actually have a reactionary force that we're going to send there to have some talks with some people, which is what it seems that if we keep getting more of this bullshit, more people will get fed up, more people will pick up guns, more people will politely say, okay, now what?
To feed off of what Tony said, not just the active disparaging or oppression of someone based on their physical characteristics, their race, racial identity, stuff like that. People tend to think about that as it being an active process, but the vast majority of racism is a covert, not in front of your face thing, unless you're walking down the street in Louisiana.
Yeah, you can come to Louisiana. I can show you.
Right.
Let us walk through Centerville, Mississippi. We will be arrested within the first 10 steps.
We can go out to Western Massachusetts and we can do the same thing. But oh yeah. Once you get past Worcester, man, it's wild up here. But I think many people forget that the physical manifestation of racism is just a part of it, which is why understanding anti-racism is so important, and confronting those invisible structures that exist and promote that kind of oppression.
The way I would define it for me is, I think about the things that the 1964 Civil Rights Act was intended to defeat. And I think about the Voting Rights Act and its purpose, why it was needed. I think about the Supreme Court decision, like Brown versus Board of Education, like Loving versus Virginia. I think about the fact that I don't have, as a black person, the same privileges that my white countrymen seem to have, whether it's not being followed around in a store, whether it's wanting to buy a house in a certain neighborhood or rent an apartment in a certain neighborhood. I just think about those things that people are able to exclude a person from for no reason other than the color of their skin, other than their race. That to me is racism. Some lone person calling me the N-word, that's to me that's the individual's character flaw. Like I could be 3'7" and they could call me the M-word, for example. So. There are people who do cruel things or say cruel things. That to me is, maybe you can call that, I don't know, prejudice or something, or bias. But racism to me is stopping things that prevent me from having the exact same access and opportunities to make a decision as an American citizen, decision for my life as an American citizen, as anyone else. That's how I see racism.
And I agree with Walter. It's and I would call that systemic racism. It's I have to consider things that white Americans don't. For instance, let's talk about the police stop. I think most of us here on the panel are familiar with something called the talk. How you interact with police. If you're white and you're nice and polite, you may get out of that ticket. For us, we have to do that to survive. So it's the things that we have to consider almost unconsciously on a daily basis in our behavior. Or, for instance, if we're applying for a mortgage, am I going to be given a less favorable term simply because of my genetics versus someone sitting next to me who may be in the exact same circumstances, same financial, same personal details, but because of this, I am at a disadvantage. And then there's the personal racism. For instance, first of all, I don't care what you think. Your thoughts are your own. I care about how, and I somewhat care about what comes out of your mouth, because depending on how I'm feeling that day, that could not end well for you. But again, I see racism in two different categories: personal, in terms of interactions with other people, and then the systemic racism. For instance, the redlining of communities, or just having common experiences with other African Americans, some things that we are all taught from childhood, just so that we can make it home at night. That's how I would summarize racism.